In this short video, I wanted to expand on the description of the life cycle hypothesis, which is associated with Nobel laureate Franco Modigliani, that is discussed in Chapter 7 of Extreme Economies. That is the chapter on Akita, Japan, and that I have also linked to your discussion board question for this particular week. So in Chapter 7 of Extreme Economies, the three stages of Modigliani's life cycle hypothesis are described as dependency, maturity, and retirement. In the past, when I have covered this topic in classes, I have used somewhat different descriptors, but since these are in Chapter 7, we're going to go ahead and go with it, and then I will expand upon that as follows. So in this initial phase, which Modigliani describes as dependency, what he really advanced was the idea that when people are relatively young, and just for purposes of a ballpark range, let's say in their 20s and 30s, this is a period of time when people are likely to spend a greater percentage of their income and save a smaller percentage of their income. Now, this is a complement to the relationship between consumption and income that was developed some years ago by the British economist John Maynard Keynes. Keynes argued that people tend to spend a fairly stable percentage of their income and save the rest. Modigliani amended that somewhat, saying that, well, these percentages, these proportions of our income that we tend to either spend or save vary depending upon fairly predictable stages in the life cycle. So if you think about it, if you think about this dependency stage, and again, let's just think about that as when people are in their 20s and 30s, what are the decisions that people oftentimes make in this age spectrum? Oftentimes, this is when people get married. Perhaps they might buy their first home. They might start a family. So all of and make other, relatively big ticket expenditures. So all of these are reasons why the percentage of income that is spent might go up, and then this percentage of income that is saved might go down. The second stage is what your text refers to as the maturity stage. And when I've explained this in classes, I've typically, again, we're just going with ballpark ranges here, said, well, think about this as when people get into their 40s and 50s, what we have historically defined rather broadly as middle age. What often happens in the 40s and 50s? Perhaps the mortgage gets paid off, or at least it gets paid down. You're getting fairly close to paying off that obligation. Depending upon when people might get married and start a family, perhaps their children are grown and on their own, or getting pretty close to that. Earnings also for many people tend to rise during this time and may even reach their peak level. Also, when you get into this maturity, again, we could debate about what the age boundaries ought to be. When you get into this, what is described as the maturity phase, people start thinking more about retirement. They realize that it's getting closer by the passing day. And so that's an incentive. All of these reasons put together are a reason why people might tend to save a bigger percentage of their income at this portion of the life cycle and spend a smaller percentage. Certain obligations that one may have had in the past either are not as present or maybe not present at all, and retirement is looming larger. And then this final phase, which is described in your text as retirement, that's pretty straightforward. And of course, people can retire at all different ages. But let's just kind of pitch it right down the middle and say, well, this is when people get into their 60s or above. Now they may no longer be employed full time. They might still be working, part-time, but their full-time employment, what they've done for most of their working lives, that may be done, and they're drawing upon their savings. They're drawing upon the assets they accumulated during their working years. So here, once again, is a situation where spending as a percentage of income may rise, and saving as a percentage of income may fall as people draw down upon the assets that they accumulated while they were working. So again, the discussion board question centers on, among other things, how the trends, the demographic trends, which are taking place all over the world. Japan is probably the most prominent example of a situation where people on average are living longer, and because of declining birth rates, the labor force is not growing as fast. So how are societies going to maintain and extend their social support systems, either public or private, given these demographic changes? And so one part of the discussion board question for this week, in addition to continuing with this, trying to apply this concept of creative destruction, is how might this life cycle hypothesis, these stages again of dependency, maturity, and retirement, how might this be altered by what your text reads about with respect to Japan, or discusses with respect to Japan? The other thing I just wanted to mention in this video, two other things that I also mentioned in my Canvas announcement that I posted just a few minutes ago. Remember that I want to know by the end of this week, so by the end of the day on Friday, October 29th, what your plans are for the capstone project. If you're planning to do it as a member of a group of 2 or 3, who are the members of your group? And if you're planning to do it as an individual, that I would like to know that as well. And then do not hesitate to ask me any questions about the third writing assignment, which again tries to extend this concept of creative destruction and look at some of the criticisms that are oftentimes advanced of market processes, is that they are harmful and destructive to certain forms of community or social solidarity. And if you have any questions about that, if there's anything you want to discuss, or if you have any questions about the article that's associated with this writing assignment, I would be more than happy to discuss those with you. And again, in due course, I will also send you a link for our voluntary Zoom session, which will take place again on Wednesday of this week. Let's see, that is the 27th. Got to keep my dates straight here. And we will do that as we have traditionally done at 12 noon Pacific time. But I'm also available for questions at other times as well. So please have a good day and a good week. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you found this video to be helpful.